UFC Fight Night Vegas 21, Edwards vs. Muhammad takes place tonight, and I'm going to go through my last minute detailed predictions of every single fight on the card. I'm going to start with the early prelims, end with the main event, telling you guys how I see every single fight going. I'm not talking about resumes, I'm not talking about style matchups, I'm not talking about why I'm picking a certain thing to happen. I'm predicting how it will go in the cage come fight night, every single fight on the card, starting with the early prelim opener of Matheus Semelsberger versus Jason Witt. I believe Jason Witt's going to go out there. They're going to have a bit of a close first round. Both guys landing some good shots. Around the halfway point of the first round, Jason Witt's going to shoot a takedown, get down Matheus Semelsberger, land some good ground and pound towards the end of the round, win himself the first round of this bout with that ground and pound at the end of the round. Maybe Matheus Semelsberger looks like he's going to do quite well on the feet because Semelsberger has got some good stand-up. I think he will look like he's going to do quite well on the feet. I think the takedown at the halfway point of the first round is going to change things for Matheus Semelsberger. Witt's going to land some good shots. He's going to start bloodying up Semelsberger on the ground a little bit. Then the second round's going to come around and Jason Witt's going to waste no time shooting that takedown, get down Matheus Semelsberger, and throughout the second round he's going to be on top, landing ground and pound shots, working Matheus Semelsberger on the ground, and eventually I believe Matheus Semelsberger is going to give up a bad position through fatigue and just being bored of dealing with Jason Witt's ground and pound. And then Jason Witt's going to pounce on the arm triangle submission in the second round. I'm going with a second round arm triangle for Jason Witt. He gets the tap there. Moving on up the card, Gloria De Paula versus Jin Yu Frey. I'm going to go with Gloria De Paula here, winning the fight by unanimous decision. It's a women's strawweight bout, so it's going to be a decision, okay? Spoiler alert. Gloria De Paula's going to go out there, land some good shots on the feet, and I think it's on the feet where she's going to win this fight. There might be some moments where Yahya Frey goes for a takedown. I think Gloria De Paula's going to be able to defend those takedowns quite well, use that range advantage on the feet, use that size advantage overall on the feet as well, because Yahya Frey is an atom weight, let's not forget. Gloria De Paula's going to go out there, work the range, scoot around the outside. Yahya Frey's going to be looking to close the distance and land good shots and maybe clinch up with Gloria De Paula against the cage and work her there, but I think Paula's going to continue to create space between her and her opponent, land good shots. The first round's going to be quite slow, a lot of clinching against the cage. Second round is going to get a little bit easier, and I think the older woman in Yahya Frey is going to start to slow down a little bit quicker, and Gloria De Paula is going to go out there, pick it up more in the second round, and even more in the third round as well. I'm calling a 30-27 unanimous decision win, close first round, clear second round, beat down third round for Gloria De Paula. Her stand-up's really nice and it gets better as the fight goes on. So Gloria De Paula by 30-27, unanimous decision. Moving on, Courtney Casey versus Jj Aldridge. Women's flight, I'm going to go with a decision again here. I think I picked Courtney Casey by submission originally, but I don't think I'm even going to go with that one. I think I'm just going to rely on her submission ability off of her back to avoid Jj Aldridge being able to do too much. I think there's going to be some moments where Jj Aldridge is winning on the feet early. She's got some good stand-up. I think I'm going to give the first round to Jj Aldridge, but as this fight goes on, I'm going to favour the veteran of Courtney Casey going out there, winning submission positions, maybe using the grappling herself to get some takedowns, and I think she's going to also win it on the stand-up as this fight goes on into those later rounds, and I'm going to call a 29-28 unanimous decision win for Courtney Casey, getting the job done. Moving on, Nasrat Haqparast versus Rafa Garcia. I didn't even break this fight down because it just got recently signed. Rafa Garcia is a very dangerous man. Okay, 12-0, undefeated for a reason. Beat some good opponents, but Nasrat Haqparast, in my opinion, is going to go out there, earn himself a 30-27 unanimous decision win. No, actually, I'm going to go with a 29-28 unanimous decision win for Nasrat Haqparast. Exactly the same prediction for Casey versus Aldridge. I think Haqparast is going to win the next two rounds. The second and third round of this bout will go towards Nasrat Haqparast. I think Rafa Garcia taking this bout on short notice is going to look to go out there early and land some big shots. He's got some first round finishes. I think he's going to look for those big moments early and go after Nasrat Haqparast and try and make something happen on short notice in that first round. I think Nasrat Haqparast is going to scoot around the outside, survive those situations, and then start to slowly wear down Rafa Garcia in the second and third round, landing good body shots, landing good leg kicks, sticking it with the jab. I think he's going to move around the outside in the second and third round and just be the fresher man as the fight goes on and win this one 29-28 by unanimous decision, securing himself the second and third round in a very competitive bout. Moving on, up the card, Ronnie Yaya versus Ray Rodriguez. Now, I'm going to go with Ronnie Yaya by decision. I like the idea that he might be able to go out there and submit Ray Rodriguez. Ray Rodriguez has been submitted many times before in his career, but Ronnie Yaya is just a little bit of an old man. And not a little bit of an old man, he's an old fucking man, let's be real. 36 years of age in a bantamweight division. It's not one of the divisions where you can be 36 years of age and still compete at the top level. I mean, some guys have shown that they're able to, but Ronnie Yaya, aging at a bit of a different rate than some of these other phenoms that are still keeping themselves in good shape. Ronnie Yaya, I feel like, is going to go out there, get in a bit of a scrappy fight with Ray Rodriguez on the feet early. Maybe Ray Rodriguez is going to crack him with some good shots, but I think Ronnie Yaya is going to scoop underneath with the takedown every time it gets a little bit interesting on the feet and secure himself some ground control and total strikes towards the edge of each round. And I think he's going to win the end part of those rounds, definitely with the takedowns. Ronnie Yaya, 30-27, unanimous decision, scooping up Ray Rodriguez, getting a little bit over-aggressive on the feet, looking for a big KO finish. Ronnie Yaya is going to dive underneath every time this fight gets interesting on the feet and secure himself a 30-27 unanimous decision with those takedowns at the halfway point or at the end of each of the rounds. That's what's going to be the winner of the rounds, in my opinion. Ronnie Yaya is going to really sneak these rounds with the takedowns at the end and have a lot of control time over Ray Rodriguez. Moving on up the card, Charles Jourdain versus Marcelo Rojo. I'm going to go with Charles Jourdain. As much as I would love to see Marcelo Rojo go out there and win, just to see that Tyrannosaurus Rex celebration, which is one of the most hilarious celebrations I've ever seen in MMA. So I kind of don't want to be correct here, but Charles Jourdain watches my YouTube videos, so you know we're backing our boy Charles Jourdain. But Charles Jourdain actually is going to go out there and get the job done, in my opinion. I think Rojo's going to come out all guns blazing in the first round, try and land a good shot early. Charles Jourdain's going to come back towards the end of the first round. I'm actually going to go with a TKO finish here for Charles Jourdain. I think he's going to crack Marcelo Rojo, being a little bit over-aggressive, a little bit overzealous, looking to trade big shots. Charles Jourdain's got some really tight hooks on the inside, and I think he's going to use them very well against Marcelo Rojo and get himself the first or second round TKO. I'll call it at the end of the first round. Charles Jourdain is going to earn himself the TKO win here with a nice little short hook on the inside as Marcelo Rojo swinging him around the outside looking for haymakers. The technique and the tightness of Jourdain's hooks will beat Rojo to the punches. I don't even know how to pronounce his surname, but I kind of want him to win. I don't know if you guys have seen the videos of Marcelo Rojo's celebration. He does like a T-Rex impression, and it's one of the funniest things I've ever seen. So I won't even be mad. If he wins against Jourdain, he's going to beat my boy Jourdain. As long as he does the impression, I can excuse him. You know what I mean? But I feel like Jourdain's going to beat him to the punch with more technique and catch Rojo in the first round being a little bit over-aggressive by TKO. Moving on up the card, Angela Hill versus Ashley Yoder. Going to be a decision. Spoiler alert. Yoder's actually a pretty big girl for the division, so I think she's going to try and use that size against the cage. There's probably going to be a lot of moments where she's holding Angela Hill against the cage after being beaten up on the feet, but I think overall, this is going to be determined by Angela Hill scooting around, chopping at the legs, landing good kicks at the legs. I think it's going to slow down Ashley Yoder as this fight goes on. Angela Hill's just going to be too much for her on the feet for 3 rounds, in my opinion. Now, Ashley Yoder has a real good chance to go out there, maybe make something happen purely because of her size at this division. But I feel like Angela Hill is just actually a good fighter. I know that their records dictate that they're both neither good fighters, but I think Angela Hill is actually a good fighter. She's good on the feet. She's got good technique. I think she's just going to chop at the legs, land some good shots, maybe a jab to the body because she's a shorter opponent, and just pick apart Ashley Yoder for 3 rounds to a 30-27 unanimous decision win. Angela Hill gets it done by unanimous decision on the feet for 3 rounds. Moving on the card to the main card, Eryk Anders versus Darren Stewart. I actually really think this card is underrated. I know there's not a lot of big names, but there's a lot of fun fights on this card. Eryk Anders versus Darren Stewart. Amazing fight on the card. Going with Darren Stewart by decision again. I think this is a 29-28 unanimous decision. I think Eryk Anders is going to come out there, look for a big first round against Darren Stewart, maybe do well in the first round against Darren Stewart, who's a little bit of a slow starter normally. I think Anders is going to be looking to push him up against the cage, land some big shots, back up Darren Stewart by being a bigger man and sort of corralling him around the octagon. Eventually, when he has Darren Stewart against the cage, I think he's going to look to trade and then close the distance in the clinch and try and land those knees to the fire, maybe a couple foot stomps, maybe a couple shoulder barges, look to control Darren Stewart against the cage. I think eventually as this fight goes on, the smaller guy for the division, Darren Stewart, is going to be in better shape because he barely ever slows down in any of his fights. Darren Stewart's going to come back in the later 2 rounds, landing good shots on Eryk Anders, and I think by the 3rd round, it's going to be like, is he going to get the TKO over Eryk Anders here? Eryk Anders looking really sloppy, really tired in the 3rd round. I think Darren Stewart's going to do a lot of investment shots early. Anders is going to be headhunting early and looking for the clinch against the cage as well. Darren Stewart's investment shots to the legs and the body are going to be huge for him in this fight. I think he's going to land knees with his back against the cage, land some good kicks to the legs as well while they're in the open, and I think Darren Stewart in the 2nd and 3rd rounds going to really start to put the pressure on Eryk Anders, winning the 2nd round in a competitive round, losing the 1st round in a competitive round, but really starting to put a beat down on Eryk Anders in that 3rd round, and I think we're going to be saying that Anders got saved by the bell, and if this was a 5-rounder, Anders would have been finished. Darren Stewart gets the job done by unanimous decision. I'll call, you know what? I'll call not just a 29-28 because I've done too many of them. I'll call a 29-27. I think Anders wins a round. I think Stewart wins a round. I think Stewart gets a 10-8. 29-27, Darren Stewart will be the scorecard at the end. Moving on up the card, Manel Kape versus Matheus Nicolau. I think Manel Kape's going to earn himself a 2nd round TKO. I think it's going to be a great 1st round. Both guys are going to be thrown with some heat. I think Manel Kape's a little bit more technical on the inside, a little bit faster than Matheus Nicolau, but Matheus Nicolau is a very dangerous contender joining the flyweight division. Once again, he was here before. You know the story of Matheus Nicolau. Been KO'd, got cut by the UFC because he didn't know if they were going to keep the division open. Cejudo gets the fucking win over TJ Dillashaw. The division stays open, thank God, because it's such a great division now. Manel Kape's going to go out there, though, and win himself this fight by 2nd round TKO, being a little bit more aggressive, looking for the shots a little bit more, being more elusive than Matheus Nicolau as well, making him miss in that 1st round. I think both guys are going to be throwing heat early. I think Matheus Nicolau is going to be missing more shots early. Manel Kape's going to be landing when he wants to, and I think in the 2nd round he's going to find the counter left hook on Matheus Nicolau to put him down by TKO, finish up with ground and pound shots afterwards, and I think this is what, the 1st TKO of the card I'm calling, and we are on the main card, so I see a lot of decisions going on, which actually isn't that bad so long as they're good fights, but I think Manel Kape will score the 1st TKO finish of this entire card. Moving on up the card, Jonathan Martinez versus Davey Grant again. I think Jonathan Martinez is going to chop up those legs. 30-27, unanimous decision. Jonathan Martinez chops up the legs early of Davey Grant, starts putting the pressure on in the later rounds. I'm kind of repeating myself here. I sound like a parrot right now. Okay, I'm sorry. I just kind of see the fights all going this way. Jonathan Martinez chops at the legs of Davey Grant. Davey Grant's going to be looking to swing big hooks early. Both guys are going to land some good shots. I think eventually Jonathan Martinez might start going upstairs with their head kicks, but Davey Grant is just so tough that I'm not even going to pick him to lose by a finish in any way here. I think Jonathan Martinez is going to win a 30-27 unanimous decision, chopping the legs of Davey Grant, and I think we're going to be saying after this, man, how tough is Davey Grant? But also Jonathan Martinez is going to need to get the credit he deserves, beating a dangerous guy. No pun intended, that's actually his nickname, Davey Grant. But Jonathan Martinez is going to go out there, beat the dangerous guy with the leg kicks early, and I think Davey Grant's just not going to be able to deal with those leg kicks for too long. Eventually, Jonathan Martinez will start beating down Davey Grant, and I think, again, we're going to be looking at another situation where we're saying if there was a 4th and 5th round, maybe Jonathan Martinez would get a finish. But again, another entertaining, scrappy, back-and-forth decision. Davey Grant's going to land some good shots, but I think Jonathan Martinez can take those big shots. I think he's just going to win this fight by being the smarter guy on the feet and using the investment shots early, capitalizing, and then taking over in the 2nd and 3rd round. Jonathan Martinez wins it 30-27. Moving on up the card, Dan Ige versus Gavin Tucker. Another decision. I think they might have done this intentionally on this card, just to make it like this. I don't even know why, so there's no like in-between fight time where there's nothing going on. Dan Ige versus Gavin Tucker. Again, I don't see a finish. Like, what? Every fighter does. If there's a prop bet for like over or under a certain amount of decisions on the card or a certain amount of finishes, take the over on the decisions. I don't know what on, but like there's going to be a lot of decisions on this card in my opinion. That might be a good way to make some money here. Dan Ige is going to go out there and get a decision win over Gavin Tucker, and I'm going to call it this way. Split decision. the legendary Dan Ige split decision, and this ain't no Edson Barboza fight. He's actually going to win this one. Dan Ige is going to go out there, be a little bit better than Gavin Tucker. Both guys are going to be landing big. I think this is going to be fight of the night on the card, 100%. Both guys are going to land great shots. Gavin Tucker is going to be ripping some body kicks, maybe, that he saw Edson Barboza land on Dan Ige a couple of times. Look for the shots on the inside, maybe some knees in the clinch. I think Dan Ige is going to beat Gavin Tucker in the close range brawl when they're swinging back and forth. He's got a massive reach advantage for the division right now, 5 inches over Gavin Tucker, and they're like around the same height as well. I think Dan Ige's got the option to keep it standing. I think he's got enough grappling to decide where this fight goes. Gavin Tucker's got great grappling as well, don't get me wrong, but I think Dan Ige's just little bit up the food chain compared to the Billy Quarantillos of the division, but Dan Ige, I believe, is going to get the job done in a hellacious war, back and forth, both guys landing big shots, both guys bleeding by the end. It's going to be one of those fights where they're ending up in half guard at the end, and then they sort of sit up and sort of just grab hands and get each other up and pat each other on the back before they celebrate. I think it's going to be a great fight back and forth. Dan Ige is going to barely get it done by just landing, I believe, the more significant shots in each round. Maybe catching Gavin Tucker on the chin a couple of times, because I think Dan Ige is just that little bit next step up from the guys that Gavin Tucker's been facing previously. And I think it's going to be a little bit too much too soon for Gavin Tucker right now in his career to take this jump up against a guy in Dan Ige. And I think he's going to sneak by split decision win. But I think he's actually going to win the fight. So maybe I should say unanimous decision, but I can see like a really close back and forth fight where you're like, geez, this one could be like robberyable. And one of the judges is maybe going to go with Gavin Tucker, and everyone's going to say maybe that guy's dumb, but it's going to be a really close fight. Dan Ige is going to barely edge himself ahead. Gavin Tucker's a live dog though. Moving on up the card, Misha Cirkunov by Ryan Spann versus Ryan Spann, sorry. Ryan, a mediocre man Spann, makes his return against Misha Cirkunov. I think Misha Cirkunov's going to go out there, submit him in the first round, arm triangle choke. Another submission here on the card, another submission by arm triangle. It's the most bullyable submission in my opinion. It's one of the better submissions to go for if you're looking for a guy to get a submission, because there's a lot of stages you have to get to in order to get to like a rear naked choke or a triangle or an armbar. There's a lot of moments you have to set up beforehand. With an arm triangle, you can capitalize on an instant and get that in and just have that as like a bullyable, I'm bigger than you, I'm better than you at grappling, I'm going to push you into this situation and manhandle you into an armbar. And I think Misha Cirkunov's just going to be too big, too strong, too compact on the ground in the first round. I think Ryan Spann's going to be looking to load up with big shots. Maybe look for that uppercut as Misha Cirkunov dives in underneath. I think Misha Cirkunov's not going to get caught with a big shot on the feet in the first round. I think he knows that his advantage here is taking this to the ground, and I think he's going to go out there and get the submission win by arm triangle in the first round. Moving on to Leon Edwards versus Belal Muhammad. I'm going with Leon Edwards by decision, but I'm going to go Cirkunov by arm triangle choke in the first round, by the way, if I wasn't clear enough. Leon Edwards going to go out there and win this by decision. I know that he says he wants a TKO. I know that Dana White has also said that Leon Edwards needs to win impressively if he wants a title shot. If Leon Edwards wins, he's getting a title shot. Shut the fuck up, Dana White. Actually, no one cares about Masvidal anymore. He's not good. He'd lose to half of the division. So stop talking about Masvidal, for fuck's sake. I know he's a big name. Shut the fuck up. That's just my opinion. I love Masvidal, but shut the fuck up. Leon Edwards versus Belal Muhammad. Edwards is going to win this one by unanimous decision. I think it's going to be 4-1 on rounds. I can see Belal Muhammad going out there and winning the first round. I think he's going to go out there, really put the pressure on Leon Edwards early. Edwards is going to have a little bit of ring rust and cobwebs to shake off in the first round. Belal Muhammad's going to take advantage of that, coming forward, landing big shots, going for the body early against the cage, landing good shots there. I think Edwards is going to have a lot of clinch control in the first round and maybe a lot of knees to defy and a lot of takedown attempts in the first round, but Belal Muhammad is going to land more significant strikes, landing the bigger shots early, ripping the body against the cage maybe a little bit, putting the pressure on Leon Edwards, and I think he's actually going to overwhelm Edwards in that first round. But come the second round, Edwards is going to find his shots, land something that, like, I think it's going to be an elbow in the clinch that's going to gain the respect of Belal Muhammad and start to slow down that forward pressure, which is something that Diego Lima couldn't quite do with his hands against Belal Muhammad. He had that great calf kick, which we're going to talk about as well. Lima had that great calf kick, but he never landed anything upstairs that was going to really make Belal Muhammad think, oh, I don't know about this one. I might get KO'd again. I think Edwards is going to land the elbow in the clinch as Muhammad is looking to pressure against him. And I think that's going to really get the respect of Belal Muhammad. And Leon Edwards is going to start to land some good shots at range, circle Muhammad around against the cage, take him down a couple of times, maybe not secure any good ground control, but a couple of total strikes as Belal Muhammad works his way back up to his feet. It's going to be a very grueling fight against the cage. Very Usman-esque in the second round onwards to the end, and I think Leon Edwards is going to win this fight 4-1, landing good shots, circling Muhammad around in the clinch as Muhammad is pressuring forward, using Muhammad's momentum against him, landing some good elbows on the break of the clinch as well, landing some good body shots against the cage, chopping at the legs as well, which I think is going to be a huge thing. He will be chopping at the legs throughout this fight because Muhammad's leg is not going to be healed fully from that Diego Lima contest, and I think Edwards is just going to win the war of attrition as this fight goes on. 4-1 on rounds to Leon Edwards. Thank you for watching the video. Click that button up there. Goodbye. I'll see you later. Like and subscribe. 4-1 Leon Edwards. Every round other than the first. He wins this fight by unanimous decision and earns his title shot. Goodbye. See you later. Toodle pip.